We're joined by the voice of Utah Athletics, Bill Riley, joins us on 365 Sports. Bill, I know everything's been official, but then there's always the official day today with Utah and the Big 12, along with Colorado, the two Arizona schools. I know Utah loved the Pac-12, fans, etc., and had success there. What does today actually mean, you think, at all, or is it just another day?
No, it's not another day at all. There's a lot of excitement. I will campus up here. There's a ton of excitement around the athletic department and around campus about the new adventure. You're right. I mean, they do love their time in the Pac-12 conference, but that time's come and gone. And they've known now for a year they were going to be members of the Big 12 conference, and they've been preparing for it. So there's a lot of excitement today around Utah athletics and here in Salt Lake City.
What would you say to there was initially maybe a ho-hum to some of the fans. Was it just disappointment that a conference that they had fought their way to start dominating was ending, and now you have the sense of new beginnings as opposed to the sadness that the conference that they were two-time defending champions was over?
Yeah, that sadness passed. Again, we've had a year roundup for this, and really when the end of the season's ended, football season ended at the Vegas Bowl, basketball, baseball, really by the end of spring, it was sad because they had a good 13-year run and it had great success in a lot of sports. But this has been a day and this has been a time that a lot of people on this campus have been looking forward to. And, now the fall sports are already on campus practicing football and, volleyball and soccer. Those sports start getting up and they're now members of the Big 12 conference. So there's a great deal of excitement around here. And there's an excitement among the fan base too, because it's new. After being in the Mountain West Conference and moving to the Pac-12 for 13 years and getting to experience new opponents and new campuses, now they get to do the same thing with a League of 16. And the other bit of excitement too is, your longtime rival is now a conference rival again, and that's BYU.
Yeah, that part of it is certainly one of the more talked about aspects is having the Holy War under the Big 12 umbrella now. I mean, for folks who haven't experienced that, can you even begin to describe and just what's that going to be like, do you think, to have that under a conference umbrella?
I think it's going to be like it was for so many years, guys, and that's going to bring back a lot of excitement. Now, the programs, especially on the football side, are in completely different places right now. But that's not going to tamp down the excitement of the fan bases. And you guys know in rivalry games, there's a lot of years where one school could be really, really good and one school could be down. But on that given Saturday or whatever night of the week it might happen to be, they can summon something. So the Big 12 is going to get a look at what the Holy War is up close and in person. And I think you guys are going to be pretty impressed by the fervor of the two fan bases, let me put it that way.
Well, we felt it even from here, and we also felt it even at Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas because we had Coach Whittingham and also Kalani Sitake, among others, on the show. So there's no question it's kind of nice. It's great that they're now a part of the Big 12 when they play each other. The football team, Cam Rising, obviously, after a year or two, that he just hasn't been able to get healthy. Your thoughts about what he's looked like, even though it's early, and what are the expectations for him?
Well, the expectations are high. It was really only 1 year. Let's be fair, guys. It was last year. He played just about the entire 22 season and led them to the Rose Bowl, and the 21 season and led them to the Rose Bowl too. So it was last year. And again, it was just had we known at the beginning of the year, I just think there was that uncertainty of not knowing whether he was going to play or not for part of the year. But he's back, and Brant Keithy's back too. And there's also a familiar name for Baylor fan. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But Cam in practice, and again, spring ball is spring ball. They put the pads on next week, but he looks and talks like the Cam Rising that led Utah to back-to-back conference championships. So far, so good. Again, 4 days in, but there's a lot of excitement. And when you guys know, when you're healthy at quarterback, when you've got an experienced, high-level, talented quarterback, that always gives you reason for optimism.
Would that connection that you were about to talk about be Caleb Lohner?
It would indeed. The one-time Utah basketball commit, the one-time BYU Cougar, the Baylor Bear, is now a tight end in the Utah offense, and he drew some rave reviews, at least in the first couple of days of practice, from his quarterback, Cam Rising. They're raving at Caleb's athletic ability. Now, there's a guy named Keithy and a guy named Landon King and a guy named Carson Ryan from Utah and UCLA, those guys that are a little bit more experienced. But I can just tell you the quarterback has been very impressed by the power forward turn tight end for Utah.
Not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but Kyle Whittingham did make a very interesting move, a move that he had made before with Morgan Scalley promoting him to the head coach in waiting. Obviously, had done that years ago. Happened, he's now done that now a second time, and Morgan Scalley will be the guy. Just how has that been received by the Utah fan base? Is this just, as Whittingham's been there a long time, he's getting up there in age, this is a move to be expected? Just how has that sort of been viewed?
Well, to be fair, it wasn't Kyle Whittingham who made that move. That was athletics. The athletic director, Mark Harlan, made that move because he's the one who is in charge of all that. It's been well received. Morgan Scalley is the most Utah guy there is. His father played football at Utah. He grew up going to every Utah football game. He was an All-American safety and captain at the University of Utah. Led them to an undefeated Fiesta Bowl BCS busting season, and has spent his entire career at Utah. There's probably nobody you could handpick that would be better set, and he's coached under Kyle and been defensive coordinator, leading some pretty good defenses now for about 10 years. So he's well positioned. He's also been the lead recruiter in the state of Texas. Utah has 17 Texas kids on their roster, and Morgan's lead territory is Texas. So he's very well equipped, and from a culture, from a system standpoint, there will be a really, whenever that day comes, Kyle's under contract through 2027. So whether it's this year, next year, the year after, Utah's pretty well set on the transition in head coach. And yeah, fans love him. Morgan's a Utah guy through and through.
Give us an idea, and we've seen a little bit of it. You can't always figure things out with social media, and obviously Utah played Baylor last year. It was a game that Utah they never stopped who they were, no matter the score, and they just kept chipping away, and then they got the big pop at the end. How do you describe a Utah Utes football fan?
Are you talking about a fan or the program?
The fan. We know kind of the program's like an angry ball of razor blades, the way they play, the way we mentioned that. But Coach Whittingham got a kick out of that when I had somebody share that with me, and I shared it with him. But how would you describe Utah Utes football fans?
They are rabid. This has been this was a basketball school. It still has got a great basketball lineage and tradition. 15th or 16th winningest program in the history of college basketball. But when Urban Meyer took over for those 2 years and then Kyle Whittingham built on it, this has become a football program. These fans here are rabid. Baylor fans that come for the second week of the season are going to see a full stadium and a rabid fan base. Welcoming fans, yes, but once you get in that stadium, it becomes a real hornet's nest. So I think that Big 12 fans, I think the program's been well known. The fans will travel, too. You guys saw that last year. There were a lot of Utah fans that made the trip to Waco and were there at the stadium on that hot, humid Saturday, late morning, early afternoon game along the river there. But this is a really hardcore college football fan base here in Salt Lake City.
Bill Riley, voice of Utah Athletics, with us on 365 Sports.
What do you think that I guess Baylor's technically the first Big 12 game, even though it's not. What do you think the atmosphere will be like for that in particular of the, this is a new team that we're going to be playing?
I think that it's going to be a little bit different looking team this year. Than the one I think the intensity in what you saw a year ago will be the same. I think because so many guys return and so many guys got experience a year ago, you're going to see a little bit different. You're going to see a little bit different team than the one you saw last year, and namely because they were unsettled at quarterback. Remember last year they played Bryson Barnes and they played Nate Johnson, and ultimately Nate led them to that game-winning touchdown. It's just a different team than when you've got that quarterback. You guys remember when Charlie Brewer was running that offense a few years ago, it was just a different team for Baylor than when you had a different guy in there. The defense is going to have a few new faces, but they've got some guys back who were injured last year too. You saw Utah before a lot of the injuries began to decimate them. But again, they didn't have Keefe and they didn't have Rising in that game. They've also added a ton of weaponry in the wide receiver room. Transfer from USC, Dorian Singer. Transfer from Syracuse, Damian Alford. Transfer from Florida State, Micah Pittman, who got injured in the Baylor game early and never played the rest of the year. So this is not really going to be the same team or same feel that you guys saw a year ago when the boys came to Baylor, when the boys came down to Baylor.
Bill, one thing from me, and we appreciate your time. Stevenson Sylvester is going to join us at 5:15. He's on that Big 12 Advisory Council that Brett Yormark has formed. Give us a story about Stevenson Sylvester that we don't know.
Well, he's my sideline reporter, so that part of it is great.
All right.
He's got his own line of clothing called Utah Man Am I, with his own logo on there of him intercepting a pass against Alabama and making a gesture, making kind of a gesture that he made after making the big play. He made some sacks too. So he's got that going for him. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a Las Vegas guy growing up, so you've got that part of it too. But yeah, ask him about his logo and his clothing line.
That's awesome. That good. That's exciting. Jordy Lindley shared that with me, and he did respond. We're going to get him on in about 20 minutes or so. Bill, thanks for your time. I know that there's been so much that's been said, so much that's been done about Utah and the Big 12. Looking forward to the Utes being a part of it. And thanks for your time on this official day that they're a part of the Big 12.
Are you guys going to be making the trip to Salt Lake City?
I will not. We make 2 or 3 road trips, but that doesn't seem to be one that we're going to make this year.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do from on my end because I've got I don't have high school football like these two guys do.
Yeah,
so.
we got high school football
gotcha.
Friday.
Yeah,
Paul went to Orlando last year.
Yeah,
going to go to Lubbock, I know, is one of the trips this year, and we're looking at a couple other road trips too. So, but would love to. I would like one day to be able to go on a Friday night to wherever they're on the road to enjoy that and then come up and do a game too.
I just want to find a way also to go to the Holy War at both places just because I like being in stadiums that make your teeth rattle.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's so loud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bill Riley, voice of the Utah Utes, with us on 365 Sports. I did not know when Jordy reached out to me